shall please the Lord better than an ox or bull which has horns and hooves. The psalmists had an understanding that even though sacrifice was what God required in his worship in the Old Testament, he desired thanksgiving more than a sacrifice of animals. A sacrifice of praise, Hebrew refers to it, the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. So if you would turn your hymnals, and I'm going to need the slide because I forget what number it is. 339? 539. 559. I'm glad my eyesight is so good. If you need it, 559. Words are on the screen. For the beauty of the earth, we're going to sing verses 1, 3, and 4. Pastor.
We are in Revelation 21 and moving along slowly, but there's a lot of good things to look at and meditate on and marvel over. We're still using the same outline and will be for some time, so I encourage you just to hang on to that if possible. And I'm just going to give the main points for anybody who maybe hasn't been here last week or so, to catch us up to where we left off last week. So Revelation chapter 21, Roman numeral 1 is the final institution, and capital A, the new creation, and that's in chapter 21, verses 1 through 8. So we looked first of all at the focus required, and then secondly, we looked at the features revealed. And we did A and B. A was a new creation, and B, a new city, and that's as far as we got. So C is a new community. And that's in verses 3 and 4. So we'll start with Revelation 21, verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God." We'll stop there for now. I could spend a lot of time just meditating on that verse and all the blessings that are involved. Does anybody know what the word tabernacle literally means? It can mean tent or house. More tent. It's more. Yes. The literal meaning is dwelling place. So we've already talked a little bit about the heavenly city, the holy city, New Jerusalem, back in verse 2. And the word tabernacle does mean dwelling place. The first time we see that word, of course, is back in the Old Testament, where the tabernacle was built. And remember, one of the features about the tabernacle was basically God is saying to the children of Israel, keep your distance. Remember, we went through that. The first thing you see is a fence. And a fence is either to keep things in or keep things out. That would be keep things out. And the people were to camp around about the tabernacle afar off. Only the priests could go into the holy place. But first, as they went into the outer court, they had to pass the altar of sacrifice, of course, make sacrifice for sin. Before they could go in the holy place, they had to wash their hands and feet on the laver. And only the high priest could go into the Holy of Holies once a year after having made atonement for his own sin. When the ark was moving, the people were to follow it afar off. I think it was like 2,000 feet far off or something like that. I forget the exact number. But all these things saying, keep your distance, keep your distance, keep your distance. It wasn't like that in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were able to directly fellowship with God. But of course, sin spoiled all that. And then we come to the book of Hebrews, and we are invited to boldly approach the throne of grace to find help in time of need. And still, we're not there yet, but we will be soon. And dwelling place. So this is where we're going to live, and God is going to, in some way, dwell there with us. So thinking about a dwelling place with God, tabernacle of God is with men, he will dwell with them. That indicates such things as fellowship. And I don't know, I really can't understand how that's going to work. There are so many people that are going to be in heaven. Old Testament saints, New Testament saints, tribulation saints, people saved during the millennium, thousands upon thousands, but in some sense we're going to be able to fellowship with God. And we've got all eternity to do it, right? So fellowship. And also, what's our relationship with God going to be more than just fellowship? Chris? Service? Yes. His servants shall serve him. And so in some capacity. And what a privilege that's going to be. It's a privilege to serve him now, but then to be able to do that in person. Anybody think of any other relationships that would be involved? Yes, very good. I'll be able to worship him face to face and thank him and praise him, and there's going to be a lot of singing. And we will see him as he is. Now, this is not on the PowerPoint. I just added it tonight. But 1 John chapter 3, verses 2 and 3, Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. Every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. And so we will see him as he is. It's interesting how much typology is taken from Old Testament customs. In the Old Testament, when a marriage was consummated, the groom would take the bride to his home where they would dwell together. And of course, that's pretty much what happens today as well. Although the groom may not have a house, but have a place to live, right? And so who's the groom? Christ is the groom. Who's the bride? The church is the bride. And so some scholars, we have an escapee, some scholars believe that Old Testament saints at this point will be included. I don't know. I can be dogmatic about that one way or the other. But at any rate, Christ, the marriage supper of the Lamb has already taken place, so Christ will bring his bride into the New Jerusalem, the heavenly city, that he has gone to prepare a place for us, and there we will dwell together. And then verse 4, God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. I want to stop there just for a minute. There are two basic ways to understand that. Can someone tell me how you believe, what you believe that means? God will wipe away all tears from their eyes. There are two basic views, and neither one, I think I lean toward one, definitely.
We'll just be happy and filled with joy.
Okay, absolutely. Isn't that a wonderful thing to look forward to and rejoice over? But the wipe away part is what I'm looking for here. Dan?
I've heard that one of the views is that he'll wipe away the tears of believers from their eyes when they see, when they think back on how the world used to be, their sin nature, all of that, and see that it's all been taken away. They're crying over it because they're heartbroken at the reality of what they once were, and he wipes away their tears because it's gone now.
Okay, that very well could be. And I just, I thought I untied my shoe. I guess I didn't. Russ?
People that we could have won for the Lord, and we did not do our all for it. And we would be very sad. I mean, that is one thing that would make us sad, is that we really missed a lot of opportunities.
There are kind of two views on that as well. How much we will remember. I know, is it in Isaiah or Ezekiel? I forget somewhere. The former things shall not be remembered nor come to mind. I don't think things will come to our mind that are going to make us sad. But I know people do believe that we will remember what it was like in order to compare it to what we have now. I tend to lean away from that, but I think it's certainly possible. And then the second, anybody know the second view on wiping away the tears? Okay, I tend to believe that what this is talking about is not necessarily that there are going to be tears when we get there, but that tears will no longer exist. They're just going to be gone. Now, either one of those views certainly is in keeping with what we know, what this verse talks about and what we know. But I don't think there's going to be any tears in heaven. And the verse kind of goes on to say that because it says, there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. So I do believe that that's just a way of saying tears are going to no longer be a part of our lives. And as I was looking this over tonight, I thought to myself, I don't know if anybody likes to cry, but I've heard of ladies that just like to sit down and have a good cry once in a while. I don't know. Men don't understand that, right? But I don't think really anybody enjoys crying. So that's gone. No more death. And we face that on a regular basis down here. I think probably pretty close to half of my high school classmates are already gone. And no more death, nor crying, and here's a good one, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. So there is the absence of anything to be sorry about. Sometimes we carry sorrow about in our hearts almost on a daily basis because who knows what, you know? There's so much to be sorry about, right? And won't be a thing to be sorry about there. No more sorrow. For the former things are passed away. So everything related to this fallen world is gone permanently. D then is a new constitution. And one under that, we see the Lord's proclamation, chapter 5, or verse 5, first part of verse 6. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. So who's sitting on the throne? Christ, God, sitting on the throne, Christ at the right hand of the Father. So I make all things new. What all would that involve? I'd like to get your thoughts and your ideas. What are the all things?
From the earth itself and the new heaven and the new earth that he's made. Could be that we've been pilgrims here, and we have carried sorrows, we have carried pain, we have carried things like that. So just like when we're saved, we're a new creation in Christ. He's already made us new that way. But
Good.
he's saying, you've now entered my kingdom, my realm. All things are new, nothing old, nothing sinful, nothing painful gets struck in here. So it's hard to kind of define the word all.
It is. Think of this, the curse, of course, is removed. So no more weeds, no more thorns. It's going to be a totally different climate. The air is always going to be pure. Our food is going to be very different from what we eat now. All we know about that is the tree of life, all 12 manner of fruits. I don't know if we'll be vegetarians, or what do you call it if we all eat fruit, whatever that is. Everything. It's just not going to be anything like it is here today.
Mansions.
Yeah. And I think we'll get this far tonight. There's something I think is really cool here concerning our dwelling place. Any other thoughts before I go on? Okay, and so the Lord then, in verse 6, it's done. It's done. Does that remind you of any other phrase the Lord spoke? Oh, yeah. Wow. Everything necessary for our salvation is accomplished on the cross. And now, God's final program is brought to a complete consummation. His kingdom is brought in. It's done. I'm the Alpha and Omega. I started history, and I will end it. That's the Lord's proclamation. Then the last part of verse 6 and verse 7, the constituents. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. So not only will we eat in heaven, but from what it sounds like, we will drink in heaven. I'd just like to read a couple of passages that talk about thirst, because this verse says, I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water of life freely. And I don't know if that means we'll get thirsty in heaven, or if it's similar like to the no more tears, no more thirst. But anyway, Matthew 5:6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Isaiah 55:1, come everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and he who has no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without price. And then Psalm 42:2, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? So the fountain of the water of life. There's a tree of life. There's a fountain of the water of life. Are those symbolic? Are they actually literal? I tend to think we will eat, we will drink in heaven, but it's not going to be like now, where you could die of thirst or pass out from hunger or something like that, because the Lord's making all things new. And verse 7, he that overcometh shall inherit all things. 1 Peter 1:4 speaks of an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you. And we just studied that last Sunday night in our 1 Peter class. So it's a permanent dwelling place. And then 3 is the outcasts, and that's in verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Did you ever wonder why God gives a list of the types of people that will not be there? I think it's just in keeping with the context. Behold, I make all things new. The inhabitants everybody will be righteous. There will be nothing that contaminates, nothing that is impure, nothing that would rob us of constant joy. Like today, you hear of so many wicked things. Last Saturday, some men came over and I want to say, help me. I pretended like I was helping them. But we have this humongous recliner couch that they took up the stairway. And our stairway is like this, and then you have to turn it around and go like that. They got it out. And so we put it up for sale today, and immediately somebody tried to scam us. They want to pay with on Zello. And so what do you have to do? You have to give them information, right? So we decided, okay, we have to. Anybody want a couch and recliner? Free? Let me know. Out there, people, and that's mild compared to what's going on in Israel and Gaza there with Hamas. Nothing that contaminates. So nobody whose lives are characterized by these different words. It's not a happy thing to think about. And one thing we've been emphasizing as we go along, that it's so important for us to make the attempt to reach people now while we still can. Okay, we have got a new capital letter, believe it or not. B, the new capital. No pun intended. But I think I'm going to stop right there. I've got about 5 minutes left, but I want to read a missionary letter before we go to prayer requests. So, what I'm looking forward to telling you, if you want to hear it, you have to come back next week. Okay? Okay, just kidding. Any comments, questions?